I never imagined I'd be standing on my own son's porch, shivering in a borrowed coat, pretending to be someone he wouldn't recognize. Yet there I was, my hand hovering over the doorbell like it might bite me. The porch light buzzed overhead, a tired yellow that made everything feel older than it was. Including me, I'm Margaret Hale. I'm 72 years old, a retired school secretary with arthritis in my hands, and a lifetime of memories I wish I could fold away like old letters. That night I carried nothing but a frayed canvas bag and a lie heavy enough to bend my spine. I rang the bell, no answer. I rang it again, longer this time, the sound echoing inside the big, beautiful house my son Daniel had bought 5 years ago, 5 years since he married her. Emily, I swallowed. My mouth tasted like metal. I wasn't always like this. I used to be proud, sharp, the kind of woman who kept a tidy home and an even tidier reputation. I raised Daniel alone after his father died when Daniel was 9. I worked 2 jobs, clipped coupons, packed his lunches with little notes that said things like, "You've got this." He grew up kind and ambitious. He grew up loving me until he didn't. The porch light flickered. I pulled my coat tighter, forcing myself to hunch to look smaller, poorer, invisible. I practiced the story in my head again. Lost my apartment, no family, just looking for a little help. I hated myself for it. But hate was something I'd learned to live with, especially the kind I'd aimed at Emily. Footsteps sounded inside. The door opened a crack. A young woman's face appeared, cautious, soft around the eyes. Emily's face. She looked tired, older than her 30 years. A loose sweater hung off one shoulder. She held the door with one hand, the other gripping the edge like she might slam it shut. "Yes," she asked. My heart lurched. I lowered my gaze, letting my voice rasp. "I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. It's cold out and I was wondering if you might have some water, or a little time." She hesitated. I could almost see the calculations in her head. Stranger, old woman, night, risk. "I can get you some water," she said carefully. "Please wait." She closed the door. I exhaled shakily, my breath fogging in front of me. I hadn't expected even that. I'd knocked on 3 houses before this one. No one answered the first. The second told me through the door to go away. The third had turned off their lights. The door opened again. Emily stepped out holding a bottle of water and a small paper bag. "I also brought a sandwich," she said. "It's turkey, I hope that's okay." I stared at the bag, my throat tightened so fast it scared me. "Thank you," I whispered, taking it with trembling hands. I let my fingers brush hers just a touch. She flinched, then relaxed. Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" she asked. I shook my head slowly. "Not really." Another pause, longer this time. The wind rattled the bushes along the walkway. "I can't invite you in," she said, and I braced myself. "But I can call a shelter, or maybe—" "I don't want trouble," I said quickly. "I just need to sit for a bit. My legs don't work like they used to." She looked at the bench near the door, then back at me. "You can sit there," she said. "I'll bring you a blanket." She disappeared again. I sat. My knees ached, but I welcomed the pain. It reminded me I was still alive, still capable of feeling something other than resentment. When she returned, she draped the blanket over my shoulders with surprising gentleness. She smelled like laundry soap and peppermint. "Thank you," I said again, and meant more than the word could hold. She smiled faintly. "My name's Emily." "I'm Maggie," I lied. I hadn't gone by Maggie since I was a girl. She leaned against the doorframe. "My husband isn't home yet," she said, almost apologetically. "He works late." Daniel, my chest tight. "You're kind," I said. "Most people are," she shrugged. "I try to be." I wanted to laugh, I wanted to cry, I wanted to scream that she'd ruined my life. Instead, I took a bite of the sandwich and let the bread soak up my tears. I'd hated Emily from the beginning. From the moment Daniel brought her home, and she'd shaken my hand with confidence, not deference. She spoke her mind. She didn't ask for my advice. She didn't need me. Told myself she was stealing him from me, poisoning him against me. When Daniel started missing our Sunday calls, when he forgot my birthday, when he told me, gently, that Emily felt I was too critical, I snapped. I said things I can never take back. "I didn't raise you to abandon your mother," I said over the phone, my voice sharp as broken glass. "She's turned you against me." "Mom," Daniel had said, tired, "that's not fair." "Isn't it?" I'd shot back. "She's manipulative, cold. She doesn't respect family." He'd gone quiet, then, "I love her and I love you, but I won't choose." I laughed bitterly. "You already did." That was the last real conversation we had. Emily shifted her weight. "Are you warm enough?" "Yes," I said. "More than enough?" She nodded like she didn't quite believe me. "If you need anything else, I'll be inside." She started to turn away. "Emily," I said before I could stop myself. She looked back. "You remind me of someone I used to know," I said carefully, her brow furrowed. "Do I?" "Yes." She was strong and lonely. Something flickered in her eyes. "Lonely doesn't always mean alone," she said softly. Then she went inside. I sat there long after the porch light clicked off, the blanket wrapped around me like a confession. I hadn't planned on staying so long. I hadn't planned on feeling this. The next day, Emily found me again. I hadn't moved from the bench. The night had been cold, but I'd managed. Pride kept me rooted, or maybe fear of what would happen if I stood up and walked away. She opened the door, surprise flashing across her face. "You're still here." "I didn't want to impose," I said. She bit her lip. "You didn't." She brought me oatmeal this time, hot, sweet. She sat beside me close enough that our shoulders almost touched. Can I ask you something? She said. I nodded. Why didn't you go to the shelter? I stared at my hands. I've had bad experiences. She didn't press. She never did, I noticed. She accepted what I gave her and filled in the rest with kindness. Over the next week, yes, a full week, I came back every day. Sometimes she'd bring food. Sometimes she'd just talk. She told me about her job at the library, about the book club she never had time for, about how Daniel wanted kids and she wasn't sure she was ready. I don't think he understands how scared I am, she admitted one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't have a great childhood. I almost told her everything then, almost told her I'd been terrified too once, that I'd clung to Daniel because he was all I had left. Instead, I said, fear doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest. She smiled at me like I'd given her a gift. One evening, Daniel came home early. I heard his car before I saw him. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might faint. I turned away from the driveway, pulling my coat tighter, shrinking into myself. Hey, he said, confused. What's going on? Emily rushed out. Daniel, this is Maggie. She's been? I didn't look at him. I couldn't, not yet. She's been sleeping outside, he interrupted, incredulous. Just on the bench, Emily said quickly. I've been helping her. Daniel sighed. Emily, we talked about strangers. She's not dangerous, Emily snapped. She's just alone. I flinched at the word. Daniel fell silent. I could feel his gaze on me, heavy, searching. Ma'am, he said finally, awkward. We can call someone a service. I stood up then, my knees screaming. I turned just enough for him to see my face in profile. He froze, the color drained from his skin. Mom, he whispered. The world tilted. Emily's gasp sounded like it came from underwater. I faced them fully, my hands shaking. Hello, Daniel. Emily stared at me, horror and betrayal crashing over her features. You lied to me. I'm sorry, I said, and for once the words weren't sharp, they were broken. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. What is this, some kind of test? No, I said, it's a confession. Emily backed away, wrapping her arms around herself. You hated me. I nodded. I did. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. I opened my door to you, Emily said, her voice trembling. I trusted you. I know, I said, and you saved me anyway. Daniel looked between us, lost. Why would you do this, Mom? I met his eyes, really met them for the first time in years. Because I wanted to prove I was right, I said, and instead I proved I was wrong. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Get off my porch, I bowed my head. I will. I stepped past them, my bag heavier than before. Behind me I heard Daniel say my name, but I didn't turn around, not yet. I walked down the driveway with my spine stiff and my eyes burning, every step echoing like a verdict. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I had exposed myself, my bitterness, my manipulation, my fear, and now the consequences were mine alone. I didn't make it far. Mom. Daniel's voice cracked behind me. I stopped. I didn't turn. I couldn't trust my face. Please, he said. Just come inside. Let's talk. I laughed softly, the sound ugly and wet. Your wife asked me to leave. There was a pause. I could hear Emily crying now, muffled but unmistakable. That sound pierced deeper than any accusation. She's hurt, Daniel said quietly. But she's not heartless. Neither are you. Come inside. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I felt truly old. Not because of my bones or my hands, but because I finally understood how much damage I had done and how little time I might have left to fix any of it. I turned around. Emily was standing in the doorway, her face blotchy, her jaw tight. She didn't look at me. She looked past me like I was a ghost she wasn't ready to acknowledge. I won't stay long, I said to her. I swear. She hesitated, then stepped aside. The house felt different when I crossed the threshold. Smaller, quieter. Like I didn't belong to it anymore, and maybe I never had. We sat in the living room, Daniel on the edge of the armchair, Emily on the couch, arms crossed, legs tucked under her. I took the chair opposite them, my bag at my feet like evidence. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally, Emily said, How long? A week, I answered. I didn't plan for it to go that long. So every word, she said, her voice sharp, every look was that fake too? I shook my head slowly. No. The situation was fake, the feelings weren't. She scoffed. Convenient answer. I know, I said, you don't owe me belief or forgiveness. Daniel leaned forward. Mom, why? The question was simple. The answer was, because I was afraid, I said, because I didn't know who I was without you, because I convinced myself that if you loved her, it meant you loved me less. And instead of facing that like an adult, I chose to test you both. Emily's laugh was hollow. Test me. You hated me before you ever knew me. Yes, I said, and that was my sin, not yours. She looked at me then, really looked. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but there was something else there too. Confusion, pain, curiosity. You know, she said, I used to lie awake wondering why you despised me. I replayed every conversation, every look. I thought if I just tried harder, you'd accept me. Guilt crushed my chest. I'm sorry, she swallowed. I believed you were cruel, cold. But out there, she gestured toward the porch. You were gentle, you listened, you saw me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. That's the woman I wished you'd been. Daniel covered his face with his hands. I don't expect you to forgive me, I said. I wouldn't. I only ask that you understand this. You didn't fail me. I failed myself. Emily wiped her face with the back of her hand. You manipulated me? Yes. You lied to my face. Yes. And I still fed you, she whispered. I still saw you as human. That, I said softly, is why you're better than me. She stood abruptly. I need air. She went to the kitchen. The clink of glass followed. Daniel and I sat in the silence she left behind. I didn't know it was this bad, he said. I didn't either, I admitted. I thought I was protecting myself. Turns out I was just protecting my loneliness. He looked at me then, eyes tired but familiar. I missed you. My breath hitched. I missed you too. Emily returned with 3 glasses of water. She set them down with careful precision. I'm not ready to forgive you, she said. I don't know if I ever will be. I understand. But she continued, I don't want this to be the end, not for Daniel and not for me. Hope fluttered, fragile and dangerous. What are you saying? Daniel asked. I'm saying, she said slowly, that if we're going to move forward, it has to be honest. No tests, no games, no guilt. She looked at me. Can you do that? I can try. Trying isn't enough, she said. You don't get to disappear when it's uncomfortable. I straightened. I won't. She studied me for a long time, then she said, You need help. I blinked. Excuse me? You're lonely, she said, and you're angry, and you're grieving a life that changed without asking your permission. That doesn't make you evil, but it makes you dangerous to yourself and others. Her words stung because they were true. I've been seeing a therapist, she added. It saved me. I laughed weakly. I don't think I'm cut out for that, she shrugged. Neither did I. Daniel reached for my hand. I let him. I don't want to lose either of you, he said. You won't, Emily said, but things will be different. They already were. That night I didn't sleep on the porch, but I didn't sleep in the house either. Daniel drove me to a modest motel near the highway and paid for a week. It's not forever, he said. I know, I replied. The next morning, Emily texted me. One sentence? I meant what I said, don't disappear. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I won't. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. I started therapy. I hated it at first. I hated hearing my own words reflected back at me. I hated confronting the truth that my love had turned possessive, that my grief had fermented into resentment. But slowly, painfully, something shifted. Emily and I met for coffee once a week, always in public, always cautious. We talked about books, about work, about nothing at first. Trust rebuilt itself in inches, not miles. One afternoon, she surprised me. I'm pregnant, she said, her voice trembling. My heart leapt and then froze. I didn't know how you'd react, she added quickly. So I wanted to tell you myself. I sat very still. 1,000 instincts rose up, fear, jealousy, panic. I breathed through them. I'm honored, I said finally, that you told me. She searched my face. That's it. I smiled, small but sincere. That's it. She exhaled, relief washing over her features. Months passed, seasons changed, the baby grew. I was not in the delivery room, I didn't ask to be. When Daniel called to tell me their daughter had been born, I cried into my pillow and thanked God for second chances. Emily invited me over a week later. She placed the baby in my arms with careful deliberation. This is Lily, she said. I looked down at that tiny face, so new and perfect it hurt. She looks like you, I whispered to Emily. She smiled. I hope she has your strength. Tears blurred my vision. I hope she has your kindness. Emily nodded. Me too. We sat together in the quiet, 3 generations bound not by perfection, but by effort, by choice. I had pretended to be homeless and broke to prove I was unloved. Instead, I learned the most humbling truth of my life. Love isn't proven by who opens the door when you knock. It's proven by who stays, even after the truth comes out.